Hi, guys, and welcome back to Interact's Grow podcast. So lovely to be with you all. As always, I'm your host, Jessmyn Solana, and today we have all four ladies, Jackie, Jesy, and Damaris. Guys, thanks for joining as always.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
Hello. So today will be an interesting episode because we're going to be talking about something that we're actively doing right now. We're kind of in the middle of planning stages, but it relates to our audience because it's all about the customer journey. So we are in the middle of revisiting and like rebuilding. I love that you used that word earlier, Damaris, so I'm going to use it. Rebuilding our onboarding sequence. And just like the entire journey that customers take when they reach our website or find Interact, and then up until they like actually build a quiz and get it out to their audience. And this changed a lot because we implemented Interact AI. So I guess, does anyone want to start off with what we were doing in the past so it makes sense to why we're completely revamping the whole thing now?
I can speak to what we were doing in the past because if you were around, you probably worked with me. When you inquired about Interact or came onto our website, or really like the first time you reached out to us, the thing that we wanted to communicate to you was let us help you create your quiz. And we would offer you our free quiz course. You could go through 5 weeks of live coaching. We talked about using the different quiz templates that we offer. But the onboarding process, like the automated emails that people were getting, were never based on behavior. And what I mean by that is like what somebody needed and or where somebody was at. So everybody was getting essentially the same message of let us help you make your quiz, and here are the 3 different ways that you could get started. But some people didn't necessarily need that support. They already had copy for their quiz. Or maybe they just had a few questions on the tech setups, right? And so with AI, we now are able to know a lot more about what it is that you're looking for when you come in. So we can start to give you very specific messaging based on what it is that you need help with or have questions on, or wherever you might need support.
I also want to add that because we didn't really know like where people were at or like what behaviors they had as a customer of Interact, that meant that like our copy had to cover every single thing. Like it had to be super long, but I think we realized that we had a lot of drop off because of that. People would see the email and would be like immediately no.
Yeah. And even like not even just email, coming to coaching, right? When we would chat live or on office hours, my specifically, I'm totally guilty of this, explanations of certain things where it depends and these are the
Right.
factors and these are the features could get very, very overwhelming because I had so much to offer everybody that I wanted to make sure all of those points were covered. But maybe, I mean, not maybe, it's so much better to just focus on, what is it that this person really needs to do? They don't need to worry about these extra features until it's time to have to worry about these extra features. And so for me, it was really hard to make everybody feel like we were there to support them by answering every single thing I possibly could. But that really, I realized quickly, wasn't helpful to a lot of people because it came across as confusing or just extremely overwhelming as to how many different things you can do with your quiz.
So I think the question that I want to pose here is like how, like, especially for small business owners, I mean, we at least have a team of what are we, 12 now? Are we 12? 12 people, but 3 of those are engineers. The rest of us are somewhat customer facing, but our job description isn't really. So like even though there is like more resources to actually give people essentially like a type of one-on-one help, um, as like a small business owner, if it's just you, how do you give that one-on-one business help to your entire audience without having to spend your time on calls throughout the day just doing that? Because it could take hours. I mean, at least for us, like, because we're a software, it could take a call helping somebody connect their integration could take 2 hours.
And sometimes it's the strategy of the integration versus the technical setup of the integration versus fixing a bug in the integration. So even just explaining the technical integration can get really overcomplicated or really thorough and long because of the different angles that people might have questions on.
Yeah. I mean, I think to answer kind of your question, Jessmyn, I think we're in the middle of that right now because back to what we were talking about, we're building our onboarding sequence because everything has sort of shifted and changed within the company. And for what, like we're in June now, so I will just say for the last 6 months, really what we've just been trying to do is understand what our customers want, what kind of people are coming through, requesting these quizzes, what stage they're in their business. And so it's really back to what you're asking, the one person solo shop, right? It's just really sort of starting from scratch. Like you have to do your research, you have to try to understand your customer personas, what are they asking you for, and really just writing everything down, or however it is that you organize yourself as a business owner, and listen to your customer, and then try to rebuild from that, which is sort of what we're doing. Interestingly enough, I'm trying to rebuild from what we've learned in the last 6 months, right? So
yeah. I think we've just like really taken a shift toward like simplifying everything, not just like for ourselves, but also for our customers. I think our old onboarding sequence was like 11 emails, right? Because it took that many emails for us to communicate, step one, think about like, what is the goal of your quiz? Step two, title, results, questions, all the little parts. When now with AI, we've found a way that, we can really make the quiz creation process like in step one and in one email. And then step two is integrating. Step three is promoting your quiz. So I think that's like the biggest difference that and it's simplified it for our customers as well. Instead of having to wait, 5 weeks to go through this process, just get over with the quiz in step one and then get right to promoting it pretty much.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that. I think the easiest way for somebody to start setting up what this flow could look like without being on calls constantly. Well, first you have to be on calls constantly to figure out what it is that your people need. But once you're past that point, I think for me, it was always easiest to build out a checklist. I feel like we were always working on this perfect roadmap checklist of step one, step two, what Jessy had just said, right? But what got really complicated was all of these nuances within the checklist, or where do you start on the checklist? Because not everybody is at step one. You might be coming in with a quiz from a different builder, and so you're on step 9, right? Like, so that was really hard, and that's what always made the roadmap or the checklist confusing. But I also do think that you do have to start there, because 80%, right, we have this like 80-20 rule, right, where, and this actually isn't true now that we're using AI, we can see the different places that people are coming in, but 80% of your people would benefit from following this checklist step by step. It's not going to be perfect, but I do think that that's the easiest way to get started. And then you figure out what these nuances are and where people are getting tripped up. And then you start to build those other pieces out, which is what we're doing by sort of getting rid of the checklist, but re-implementing them through best practices that we've been finding using AI in the last 6 months.
Right. I also want to bring up how, over time we saw a lot of, I don't even know what you call this, like comments or, I guess like comments of how like people would say, I needed this quiz done yesterday, but I don't even know what my quiz idea is yet. And so part of rebuilding this entire thing, especially with AI, because we could get it out faster, is okay, how do we get this out faster to the customer so that they could pay us for the leads that they're collecting, not necessarily like to build their quiz. And I wonder if that was one of the most frustrating parts as a customer of Interact, is like, okay, well, I'm paying you guys for a subscription monthly, but it's taking 6 weeks just for me to get a quiz idea down, or like just for me to like formulate some questions and see if I even like them, and then try to decide what's the next step of that journey.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because before, for all of those that have been in Interact for a while, we've always had our quiz course for quite some time. And then we had our community, which would of course lead our customers for quiz feedback, or if you had any specific questions. I think the challenge for a lot of us at Interact was really trying to understand what your needs were, or what's the one thing you were looking for, that maybe that's where the disconnect was between, having these calls or these office hours. And I understand, like, I can understand if you're like a customer and you're on the phone with, let's just say Jackie or myself, we have so much information to give that sometimes I think that, you know, that would sort of intimidate the customer or make them feel like they weren't confident in their own business strategy or whatever it is that you were really, you are the one that knows exactly what you need. And so I think that with like now what we're learning is that our customers have a pretty good idea of what they want. I mean, I want to say maybe 85 to 90% have a very good idea of what they're looking for and what they want. And so with the AI request, at least for me personally, it's almost like I'm getting a snapshot shot of Snapchat. Sorry, that's hilarious. Of who they are, like as a business owner, just reading like your about page, understanding the products. It gives me a faster sort of way of understanding you as a business owner. And then we can always hash out the little things of what you're looking for. So that's been a very sort of new and refreshing thing that we've learned over this AI process, and what's helped us sort of determine where to take, I would say, our onboarding sequence. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I was just thinking how you mentioned how, you know, I think a lot of small business owners and maybe some of our listeners can like relate to this, that when you have to pay for something and it takes 6 weeks to even get it up and running, like that's a long time for like a buy-in, you know, like people want results quicker than that. So I think what our whole idea was like, how can we cut that 6 weeks into a shorter amount of time to get people some success, you know? Because once, you know, if we can help them like get a quiz up and running in a week, like that builds momentum. And, you know, then they keep working on stuff. Whereas when it took 6 weeks, we'd lose people at 3 weeks, you know? So I think as long as you can try your best to shorten that time to get them going, then that really helps.
Right. Something that came to mind as Damaris was speaking for me, I used to work in retail, and something they used to always tell us as like, you know, employees on the floor was to like train your customers. And basically, yeah, so like if you were working in the fitting room, I think this made the most sense there. It was like, you know, you have to like set the expectation before they go in so that you have less work to do and it's like less messy in the fitting room. So like letting them know like, hey, like when you get like 5 items, when you get in there, like make sure you put your clothes back on the hanger for us, and then whatever you don't want, hand it directly to me. And so like I kind of feel like with the Interact AI, we're able to sort of train our customer into giving us the information that we need in order to get a quiz out there faster. So like, how do you guys think that this will, you know, this will like either, I guess, help or change the way that we build this onboarding sequence? Like, how is it going to evolve?
Slowly, I would say slowly, because we want to start with what we know. So Damaris had said earlier, right? We've been working for the last 6 months directly with the customers who are requesting AI quizzes, and over these 6 months, you find yourself sending the same emails to different people, right? But like, okay, they're at this stage, and this is the next thing that needs to happen, and this is the next thing that needs to happen, and so I think that's where you have to start. What's already working that we've done manually, and Josh talks about this a lot when he's on with us and in his videos, right? What's working already manually that we've done and tried and tested. Now let's automate that. And once that's in place, what's the next phase of things? I don't know the answer because we haven't started with the shell yet, right? Like I know what this first onboarding email sequence will look like. It's getting that AI quiz out to the customers so that they can either see what a quiz would look like for their business and decide if they want to use one or not, or they are ready yesterday for a quiz and they're ready to put it up. So here you go. It's now ready for you, and you can start to optimize that. So it's what's already working. That's the first thing that goes into onboarding, and then it will evolve from there. And we've had several meetings on the different workflows and the different stages that people are in and support that they might need, and what do we call them, like branches of this workflow that we might want to push different people down based on what it is that they're telling us, which we have found over the last 6 months in different use cases of working with all these customers.
Yep. Yeah.
And I also think it's important to remember that when you're building out or rebuilding a workflow like this, is that there are going to be times where you're going to send someone down the wrong route, you know. It happens, unfortunately, and all you can hope is that they reach out, you know, and clarify, and you can work it out and fix it, because we are still just it's all based on like our assumptions of our customers and what we've learned. And 6 months sounds like a long time, but every day there could be something new and something a little like different. So just know that it's like a living, breathing thing that you will continue editing and changing, and it'll just get better and better.
Yeah.
Right.
I do want to add, and I think it's important to note this because especially even for those small business owners, even if you have, I don't know, a staff of like 5 people, or there's not a lot of people in your team, I think it's very important to like empower your people to do their things the way that they want to do. Because you will then find, and this is what we're finding, you know, I do things differently than Jackie. Jackie does things differently than Jesy and Jessmyn. We all work very differently. But because of that, we then are able to determine certain trends or certain things that are working that essentially a lot of our customers or clientele sort of have in common. And so I think it's such an amazing thing when you sort of just, I don't want to say let loose, there is still a blueprint, right? You still have a blueprint of how you do things, but everybody has their own version, and then coming together and sort of strategizing the ideas of like what each person thinks. It works very nicely, at least for us at Interact, because we are all able to put our input, sort of strategize what we think are the next steps, and then test it. So
That happened to me this last week, actually. I slacked you. I don't know. Did I slack you personally or did I slack the group? Damaris.
probably, I think it was a group that you
Was it in
slacked.
the group?
Yeah.
That when we started building out so what Damaris means by like doing stuff differently, we're manually emailing you guys. Like you're speaking directly to us in our inbox right now for your AI quiz. And I'm very like in the beginning, I'm very by the book. So how Josh tells me to do it, I do it exactly that way until I start thinking of ways to make it more efficient or make it better. And one of the things that he had said was, you know, don't spend the time creating the quiz, you know, until you get all the info that you need, like gather the info that you need, then like have them set up like their account and then like go create the quiz. So that way, like you're not running into those curious people who just want to see a quiz or, you know, so forth or whatever. And I don't know, like I just felt like I wasn't creating any quizzes. I wasn't getting any experience in the AI. But when I got like a couple people last week, I was like, let me do it Damaris's way, where she, and I think Jesy, you do this too. You create the quiz, send them a preview, and then ask them if they want it in their account. Have them create a trial from there. And those 2 people created an account like right then and there. And I was like, whoa, like that was just a game changer for me in terms of, okay, when we're creating this onboarding sequence, when this is starting to become automated, you know, what's going to be one, obviously we want it to be profitable. So like what's going to get people to convert, but also like what's going to give you the best experience? Like, is it actually the best experience where you're just, you know, talking back and forth, getting all this information, but you never see a quiz, so you don't want to, you know, create an account from there? Or is it, you know, seeing an example of a quiz personalized to the information that you gave, and maybe that's going to be the part that makes it a better experience, or that's going to be more, you know, I guess like, I don't know, I can't think of words today. It's Tuesday, but I want to say delightful as a customer. You know, you're going through, you're checking out this new product or this new part of the process. And I guess like maybe seeing the quiz really helped, or those 2 people were an anomaly. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's a great point. That's just all about like testing. You know, I do things a little bit different than Jesy and Jackie, you know, and it's just really just sort of like gathering that information and seeing, even building up branches, or maybe understanding like there's some people that like it this way, there's some people that like it this way. Maybe we create branches, you know, and all of this is like sort of like the research really that we've been doing these last 6 months to try to understand which direction to take our workflow, you know, so.
and
been-
Yeah.
even
And I,
do you want to go? I was gonna
yeah,
say,
because it's on. Go ahead, Jess.
oh, I was just gonna say, even when we do build like the workflow automation, you're still testing things out. in that workflow. And that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. And all I wanted to say, that was perfect, because all I wanted to say is, as a business owner, you want to be aware of what it is that you're testing. We didn't actually mean to. Everybody did something a little bit differently. So we found out, like, in talking to each other, we realized, okay, some people are sending a quiz as a preview link before they sign up for an Interact account. And some of us are sending the quiz once they have the Interact account. And so the test that we're performing by continuing to do these things different is, does it make a difference in terms of conversion? Because that's our goal, right? On how they get the quiz or when they get the quiz versus signing up for their account. Because whatever converts higher is obviously what we're going to want to automate, right? But at the same time, it could be that based on different reasons or use cases or stage of business or industries or whatever, right? Maybe in some cases it makes more sense to send a preview link, and in some cases it makes more sense to have them sign up for an account before receiving their quiz transferred to them. We're finding this out in running this test and in continuing to have these conversations and check it out, right? So I would just say, as you are testing things, be aware of what's different, like what are these A/B tests that you're running, and then that will only help you to further optimize your workflow as you figure out what's converting better and or what people convert better in different funnels or flows.
Yep.
I love that.
Okay.
I thought somebody was going to say something else, so I was pausing to wait. But I was kind of wondering, like, you know, let's say, okay, so for us, we're a team creating this workflow together, right? It's easy to strategize together. It's easy to get different perspectives. Like, what would you say to someone who's listening where they're like, cool guys, but it's just me? Like, I want to build, a customer journey experience that's, worth it for my customers or clients. I want them to feel, maybe I want them to feel enlightened. I want them to feel like they're getting an actual transformation. But how do I do that? How do I build that without the different perspectives that you're speaking to?
I feel like Josh would say, don't build it until you manually do it, right? And that's what I was saying earlier, where you test before creating these beautiful workflows that will go out to thousands and millions of people, right? Just have a one-on-one conversation with your customer directly and see what it is that they're responding, what it is that you want to say. And it will make it so much easier to put this onboarding workflow together when you're ready, because you'll know what messaging works and which doesn't. And that's exactly what we're figuring out right now. I remember, how many hours did it take us to revamp the onboarding sequence at the end of last year, right? It took so long because we were like, well, what happens if this, and what happens if that, and what should we say if this person wants this, and but now that we've taken that away, we've stepped back and we're manually contacting and communicating with our customers when they come on. We now know, at least from these last 6 months, what a great starting point is, and we can only continue to optimize that. So we're really not recreating an onboarding sequence this time. We're just pulling emails that we've already been sending for the last 6 months and putting them into an automated flow.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I remember Josh said this a couple of episodes back, but I think he said something, and this was all about just even starting to think about making a quiz, but he said something around the lines of, if you're exhausted on meeting your clients day in and day out, and you totally understand your clients and you're getting asked the same questions over and over again, and you already know how to answer, then that's sort of, I would say, the baseline of, okay, I fully understand my customers' needs. I can then now start separating them into buckets, personas, whatever you want to call them. And so back to Jackie's point, is really just doing your research and really understanding at least a baseline, right? And then evolving from there. And I'm sure Josh said it a lot better than what I'm saying it, but that was sort of the overall picture of what I took from that.
Yeah, you sound just like him. We don't need him on the show anymore. Just kidding. Just kidding, Josh.
It's fine. I'll just cut this out later. Yeah, I was just gonna add to what Damaris was saying, that I feel like the most important thing is is get all the information you need as soon as possible. And like
Mhm.
realistically, you should be able to get that up front, and you can get them into their very specific buckets right away. Like don't think about it as like, okay, like I've split them into 2 now. And from that 2, they split into 4. Try and get them into that final bucket of where they are as soon as possible. Because from there, you're going to be able to start like working with them quicker, or, give them like a draft or something like that. And once, they get a draft, which for us would be the preview link, like you're delighting your customer. They're seeing results pretty quick. So instead of like drawing out the process of getting information from them and getting to know them, get them into that bucket as soon as possible. And I think that would probably be like my only tip if like you're just starting out.
That reminds me of like I feel like the trend on TikTok right now is like not gatekeeping.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
Like that's such a new thing right now. It's like, why, I don't know, I guess like maybe we should do this in business. You just like gatekeep it, like you hold specific information in order to like get somebody to pay for it. But I guess like, I don't know, what I'm noticing, at least like in this season of business that we're in, is that like they want to see the goods before they pay, and maybe it's just for me at least, I wonder if it was like readjusting my perspective on what are people paying us for. Like our product, yes, is the quiz. They have to create the quiz, they need an account to create the quiz, but like what are they actually paying us for? Like what's the value in our product? And is that the quiz making process? Maybe not. Like is it the leads? Maybe not. And this is why the behaviors of our customers are so important, is because it could be different for so many different people.
Yeah, it changes. I mean, even through just the way that I'm doing things, I'm finding, some of you listening here, like I may do your quiz preview link a month ago, and then you email me 3-4 weeks later, hey, I am now ready to sign up for a free trial. I have no idea what happened in between that time frame, but it helped the customer process, or just the journey of me sort of giving you a preview of what you're getting from our product. And then that whatever decision-making process a customer went through, you came in weeks later and then you decided to go for it, right? Maybe you were shopping around for other things, I don't know, or you weren't ready to make that commitment, but it's a very interesting process when you sort of just start sort of seeing all these different people and different areas of opportunity that we have, that we would have not known if we hadn't done this AI stuff. So it's very interesting.
And if we didn't do this split test, right? Because we've all gotten requests of people where we've built quizzes for them, or they've requested to have a quiz built for them, but they don't start the free trial, or maybe they do and they don't end up paying after the free trial. But months later, I've gotten emails from people a year later. Now they're ready to implement this quiz. And maybe this is, I think, the next thing that we're going to be figuring out. Maybe it's because just seeing that preview link of their quiz is the thing that got them to get the other things in motion first. Like, okay, this is how I can see the quiz and how it's going to work now. Now let me work backwards on how I'm going to get people to that end result as quickly as possible. What does that look like on my website? What does that look like in copy? What does it look like in blogs or resources that you're creating? You may not, I guess I'll just leave it at that, is we wouldn't know that. I mean, we want to see conversion as quickly as possible, right? Like you want to make as much money as quickly as possible. I think everybody is pretty much on that same page.
But you want sustainable money. You want sustainable
money. Exactly. But when we saw our original tests of, hey, the people that are signing up for a free trial before seeing their quiz are signing up for a free trial much faster than people who are previewing a quiz and not signing up right away. But so maybe originally we thought, okay, maybe we should make everybody sign up for a free trial before we move them forward, right? But for the people who do need months to a year to figure this out, they would go down a different flow of, here's what a quiz could look like for your business, for your particular industry, for your particular use case, right? Whatever that might look like. And when you're ready, you're going to want to come back because we've just delighted you by giving you that quiz. We're not delighting you by showing you ROI from it because you're not there yet, right? You just want to figure out how it might work. And so it might take you time to get there to use it. But now we've delighted you by giving you the preview of the quiz, what it will look like, and you're going to want to come back to interact when it's time to implement that. And that's great. We want those customers too. We don't want to turn those people away either.
Yeah.
Right.
And from our standpoint, like when you think about it, if we sent someone a preview link to their quiz and they're 2 months later, they're like, okay, like now I actually have time to think about a quiz. If they didn't like already see the quiz from us, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I tried to interact, but like I don't remember what happened. Like I didn't get very far. Let me just, Google like quiz software platforms again, and maybe they're gonna jump in somewhere else. But when they already know that they have a quiz ready to go that they can start editing, then that puts that gives us an advantage over competitors instantly. So that I think is a huge thing for us.
And that's our biggest goal, right? Is to make it as easy as possible for people to build and launch a quiz. And if that happens in a couple of days because of AI, awesome. But if it takes a couple of months or a year for you to figure out how you're going to implement that, then that's awesome too, because when you're ready for it, it's going to be successful. You're prepared. You've really thought through this strategy.
Right.
Is there like an opposite of the trend, like don't gatekeep? Like what's the opposite of gatekeeping? Because I feel like we are the opposite of that. We are happy to give any information, everything that we can to help you get a quiz ready and published and anything that you need. We're definitely, I feel like, the opposite of that.
I have no idea what it's called. I just know that I always see it like, I'm not going to gatekeep this, or
Yeah.
But that
I don't
also
know any.
sometimes feels like a hook. Like people are like, I'm not going to gatekeep this secret. And I'm like,
yeah,
it wasn't a
it's
secret,
not
but
secret.
thanks.
There's no
Yeah.
secret.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys this question that might be a little difficult to answer, so take your time. But
no, drum roll, please.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so as we're building this new onboarding journey out for our customers, like what questions do you still have that you think we might not know the answer to or will not get the answer to?
Can you say that again?
Like as we're building this out, what questions do you still have or do you think you'll have of our customers that we will not get the answer to or may not get the answer to for a while?
I think right off the top of my head is like where they really are in their business. Do they have a proven offer? Do they, are they already generating leads? Do they have a large client base or a small one? I think that's like one of the big ones for me, because that's going to directly affect their quiz results and everything and how they should be promoting it and the other things they should be doing.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the people that sort of ghost us, for lack of a better term, right? Like they reach out and they're inquiring and they want to know all this stuff and then they never get back to us. And sometimes I'm totally guilty of this, where I want to chase the lead, right? Like I want to understand what happened, what changed in your mind, what changed in your business that made you so excited about using a quiz, and then all of a sudden you completely like fell off that train. Again, lack of a better word. But that's the thing for me. And that you don't always have to know that from every single person. Like focus on the people who are using quizzes and why they want to use quizzes and how they're implementing them and the results that they're getting, rather than investing too much time in something that, even if you had the I mean, you're not going to get the answer for everybody, right, of why they're no longer interested. And so that's something I would love to know, but it wouldn't be worth our time to fully flesh that out with everybody who cancels.
Yeah. I think for me, I think it's just like what motivation, what validates the idea to move forward, sort of like with you, like what you're saying, Jackie, like it's interesting and also intriguing, but I don't have the answer to see customers, when we help them, we give them all the resources, we've given them all the answers, and then they still do not convert, right? We don't know why, and we may never know why, because that's a very personal decision. And so that's sort of where I'm at with it. And I think I'm just okay with like, okay, I'll do what I can, and they may or may not convert. And then we are just going to have to move forward from that and then figure out what we can do, so that's kind of like it. That's the most interesting part for me.
So for people who are listening, right, who like want to create the perfect onboarding journey or the perfect customer journey, but also have similar questions that they'll never get answers to, like, how do you move past that? Like, what do you do day to day or in the strategy in general in order to kind of like move past, like, you know what, like these are things I wish I knew, but I just need to like build this based off of what I do know?
Yeah. Well, I
For
think
me-
Jackie said it. Yeah, I think Jackie said it best. I'm gonna let you say it.
Well, I was just going to say, don't worry about what you can't control. If people aren't going to respond to you, then don't invest all of your energy trying to get them to respond or paying hundreds of dollars for them to complete a survey, right? You focus on what you can control and the customers who are giving you feedback and the information, you know, like asking people who do convert why they did, right? And maybe you won't understand why people are always canceling, but you have a really good understanding of when people get really excited to stay on their subscription or renew their plan, right? So I would just say focus on what you can control, because if you are too focused on what you can't control, you will go absolutely nowhere. You will completely burn yourself out and you really won't see any success.
Yeah. I would just say also remember that not every customer is going to be the right customer for you, which is that's when they need to be directed to whoever is right for them. And people come into us and, you know, we think they might be the right customer and turns out they're not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And disclaimer or shameless plug, I guess is rather the word that I'm looking for, is I'm in partnerships, right? And this is something that's really intriguing to me, as if we can't help this person, who out there can help this person so that we don't leave them stranded? Because I'm a people person. I would love to help every single person. I would love to give them as much time as I can, right? But I hate leaving people like high and dry. Like, oh, our software doesn't do that. Sorry. Like, but like, is there another one that does? Or is there a business coach that can help you get to the point where you're ready for a quiz, or somebody who can implement your website, right? So that's my shameless plug. If you're interested in partnerships like that, hit me up, because it's definitely something that I'm trying to figure out so that we can all help each other win.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. Like, even if we don't do it, there's a service out there that maybe does.
Totally.
Hopefully.
Because that's their niche, not ours. We're not here to serve everybody. Nobody is.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true.
And if what you're doing is working, then keep doing what you're doing. I mean, there's no shame of changing if you don't have, I mean, if you don't have to, you know, if you keep getting people and what you're doing is working, power to you.
I love it. I love it. Any last thoughts on onboarding journeys, our like process right now that we're going through?
No,
I would just say, I'm curious if you have any questions. Hit us up in the comments if you're watching this, right? With what didn't we answer, or what did you like, or what didn't you like, or what struggles are you specifically facing? Because we're probably about to face them in building and rebuilding our onboarding sequence for the third, fourth, fifth time.
20th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I thought that this would be such an interesting topic for today, because it's like it relates so much to probably what a lot of our customers are going through. Like, we may have more resources, but we still have the same questions. We still have the same like struggles. We still have the same, you know, unanswered questions, I want to say. Like, not even necessarily like just regular questions. It's a bunch of like, well, I wonder why this is happening, or I wonder if we do this, what will happen? Would it have been better if we went the other way or decided to do something different? And that's not going to change in any kind of business that you have.
Love that.
Awesome.
Well, thanks guys for joining me today. And for those who are listening, thank you as always for joining. I don't have any like specific resources, I guess, for today, besides if you want an AI quiz, click the link and fill out the form so you can get in touch with us to get your quiz within 48 hours. Yeah, we'll see you
And
next
one
time.
day, even sooner than 48 hours, because this is all getting automated.
That's true. That is true.
Very exciting times.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.